The only real God is the one that you believe in. Start looking for the God in others. And if you find you're tuning into a wave, well then I don't know much about the insane.
Hello, everybody.
Hello, friends.
Welcome into another episode of Spiritual Philosophy Chatter with the Joneses. I'm Danny Jones.
And I am Samantha Jones.
And this is episode 137.
137.
What is our topic?
This is learning the language of the universe.
Ah.
This is my favorite thing in the world to talk about.
Unagi.
Yeah. My favorite thing.
It's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, before we do that, shall we discuss anything from last week?
Yes, sure. So last week we played my interview on Paranormal Peeps podcast.
That's almost like Peter
twister,
Piper picked a...
Seriously.
It's tough.
Like, I'm not warmed up here. I'm just starting. So we played that, and I hope everybody enjoyed that.
Cool.
Sherry, who's a long-term listener, I think she's listened from the very beginning, she said that she learned some things about me in that. So I thought that was cool, because I feel like I tell the same stories all the time, and I'm like, I wish I wrote more things down, because it's like I remember the same 5 stories. So I'm glad they're not the same 5 stories to everybody.
It's all right. It's old age. Sorry.
Yeah, it absolutely.
But it was. I think that was a cool thing about airing it. I thought there would be some things that maybe people didn't know about you.
Yeah.
And it's more like of an interview format.
Yeah.
So you're getting asked direct questions as opposed to posing the question.
Right. You know what would be cool? I just thought about this is before we even started this podcast, one of the reasons that it came to me was that I was a guest on a podcast, another paranormal podcast.
Uh-huh.
I can only imagine the difference now because I had no confidence back then to listen to that now. And if we aired that now, I would probably be so embarrassed. So we just won't do that. But it would be interesting to listen back to that. But
Do we have that somewhere?
Somewhere I can find it.
Yeah.
I could get it from them too if I needed to. So anyways,
cool.
That's totally off subject. But so every week we answer 2 questions.
Mm-hmm.
So let's do those. So I've mentioned before a mentor, student, and friend of mine, Shauna.
Mm-hmm.
And Shauna's been doing a lot of shadow work and inner child work over the last month or so. And she's heavy into it. So last night she was talking to her boyfriend about it. And he doesn't really know how to support her through this. He said that there's no way that he can think of to help her. So her question was, how can she tell him to help her? What's the best ways for him to help her? Because she doesn't even know at this point. This is so new to her. So this, I think, was good for you because you've done a lot of support with me through my shadow work, that maybe you can give some advice on how to support somebody that's going through it. Because, I mean, I can too, but shadow work is one of the hardest things, I think, on the spiritual journey because it really means examining yourself. Mm-hmm. And like Shauna's boyfriend said, why can't you just let it go? And the thing is it's not about letting things go. Mm-hmm. I've let go of what happened to me as a child, but what I haven't let go of is the subconscious damage that it did to me. Mm-hmm. And so that's where the shadow work comes in. It comes in recognizing that I do this behavior because this happened to me, and I do this behavior because of this, and then fixing the behavior to be a more well-rounded and happy human. Mm-hmm. So maybe...
Well, I think you nailed it on the head right there. I feel like... And shadow work can be considered many different ways. You go to therapy, you talk about your problems or your past or whatever. That's essentially getting into yourself, and doing exactly what you're talking about.
Yeah.
Or you can do it by writing a journal and, maybe facing things or people you have conflicts with and trying to make it better.
Yeah, that's true.
There's a lot of different things. But yes, I agree that you kind of have to go through it to get to it, meaning you got to go through it so you really can let it go. And at the same time, it's not that easy for some people to just chalk it up to, oh, well, whatever, that happened to me and I'll move on, or to stuff it down. Yeah. Some people feel like they've got to acknowledge it.
Yeah.
We're those type of people. I think it's better, honestly, in my opinion.
Yeah.
It's better to just acknowledge it and face it.
Yeah.
How to do that to support somebody, though, that's, it's tough and it's easy at the same time, because you want that person to be comfortable enough to talk to you when they feel like they need to talk to you,
right?
But you don't want to pressure them
to
do something they're not comfortable doing at the time. So I just try with you to leave an open, like an open invitation to come and, hey, if you want to talk to me about this, you're welcome to, but I understand if some of it's too hard.
Yeah. I think that the biggest thing is to recognize that you can't fix it.
No.
So don't try to fix it, because I think that a lot of people, they see their partner hurting and they want to fix it. But this is something that we have to work through ourselves. And I'm smack dab in the middle of some that I didn't even know was coming. It just hit me. And the best thing that like I could say for you, and we've talked about this, is that it's just sometimes I just need to talk about it. That's all it is. It's like, I don't expect you to fix it or have the right things to say or whatever, but sometimes it's just about getting it out and hearing the experiences, because a lot of times in the shadow work, what happens is you start to remember things that you didn't remember before, and you start to need to talk about things that you've never talked about before. And so it can be really, really overwhelming. So I think, like, on my side of things, the best thing that I would say to the partners out there is just let us talk when we have to do that, So for Shauna's boyfriend, just let her talk. That's it. You don't have to have the right things to say. I'm sorry, that's an okay thing to say. I'm sorry that happened to you, if
and I
there's
say
anything,
that to you a lot. I wish that there was a magical word or something I could say to change it, but I can't. And I realize that's part of your story.
Yeah.
Just like, my pain and suffering and trauma from my past is part of my story.
Right, exactly. And we all have it. We all have things, even if we don't recognize it at this point in our life, we all have things that happened to us that caused us some kind of problems. And we did a whole episode on shadow work and inner child work. So I definitely would recommend, if this is something that you're interested in or going through as well, to go back and listen to those episodes. I should have like a list that in front of me that I could go, what episode is that? We have so many now.
I was going to say, it's going to get hard.
I know.
To memorize.
I know that inner child work is more towards the 100 ones, because Shauna just listened to that one. So, So anyways, okay. So Shauna, I hope that helps you a little bit. And,
thanks, Shauna.
Yeah. And then the second question is from Madison. She asked, how can you tell if someone puts a love spell on you? I had a reading a while back, and the lady told me my ex was stalking me and trying to do spells to bring me back into his life. I hear this a lot, actually.
Yeah.
So, first of all, is there such thing as a love spell? Well, kind of. And what it is just manifestation. If you think about somebody enough, and you focus enough energy and attention on that person, you can bring them to you. Absolutely. Because what happens is that telepathy and that energy starts to connect between you. And so the other person starts thinking about you, and they don't know why they're thinking about you. And so they, might reach out to you, and then something might happen or whatever the situation is. But the thing is that anything like that, manifestation, love spell, whatever you want to call it, it doesn't last. Because if that's not what's meant to be, it's not going to be. So this person can try and do whatever they want to bring you back into their life. But if that's not the way that things are supposed to be, it's not how things are going to be. So don't feel like, oh my gosh, there's a love spell on me, and so that means I love this person. No, not at all. That's not what it means at all. Because it's not a spell. It's just getting in your head. Like, you might be dreaming about the person all the time because they're thinking about you. There's like a meme or something that I saw that says, when you dream about somebody, it's because they're thinking about you. So stop thinking about me so I can sleep. No.
Yeah.
But really, like, if you're feeling those things, that might be why. And really, what's the answer to it? Just let it be. Just let it be, They'll go away. I mean, unless it's something that you want to pursue, but if it isn't, then just let it be. Yeah. There's no such thing as a spell. Somebody can't make you love them. They can't any of that, but they can get in your head, sure, with the energy. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. So I hope that answers Madison's
That's a good question.
Yeah, I thought so.
Thanks, Madison.
Yeah. Okay, and then we do one reading every week. This is from Jen. She says, "Hi, Samantha. This is my sweet Nana Gloria, who has passed on. I'm curious if she likes my house. She never got to see it in the physical, and I just get this feeling she would love to sit on the back porch and look at the view. Any insight she has for me would be awesome as well. Thanks so much, as always." I love these kind of readings because I'm not like, I don't have to answer any major questions or whatever. We can just talk to a spirit. So let's just talk to a spirit and see what Gloria has to say. And what's funny is what I do is when these come up in the group and I pick which one I'm going to use for the week, I screenshot them. But I don't, and I will read them to know what I'm going to do, but I don't try and connect with the spirits. But sometimes, especially if I'm really super connected, I will. And with Gloria, I did. I started hearing that song, that Glory Gloria song. Do you know? I don't know who sings it, but I started hearing that. And that she was just a really fun person to be around.
What's the relation?
This is her grandma.
Her grandmother.
Grandma. Okay. I think she said Nana. So that's what I take Nana to be.
All right.
Okay, so let's talk to Nana Gloria. She's really kind of funny. Like, when I first connect with her, she kind of threw her head back and was giggling like, "Oh, she wants to connect. This is cool. Let's do this. This is fun." Like, she's exciting. I'm going to be on a podcast. She's excited.
That's awesome. Well,
that's a good one. We got to put that one on the list. I'm going to be on a podcast.
We're glad to have you as a guest, Gloria.
Yes, glad to have you. Welcome, Gloria.
Can we get you coffee, anything?
Oh, she's too cute, too cute. She loves you so much. She's smitten by you. She says she's been smitten by you since the day that you were born.
Oh, that's sweet.
Yeah. She says that you get a lot of your love from animals from her, and I'm seeing the horses. So either she's telling me here that you get your love of horses from her, or she loves that you have this love of horses, but there's a connection here somewhere with the horses. But she is showing me riding one, so I'm going to say that she loved the horses as well. As far as your home goes and sitting out there, she would love to sit out there with you, and actually does. She sits out there and enjoys the view with you all the time. You just don't know she's there, that's all. But next time that you're doing that, say hello, because she is.
That's cool.
Yeah. And sometimes when you're out there, like when you're out there having conversations with like your husband or your kids or whoever you're having your conversations with, she's listening and she's kind of being involved in it, even though you don't know that she's being involved in it.
Right.
She says that you have made a beautiful life for yourself. She never doubted for 1 second that you would be successful and make a good life. You knew, like, she didn't worry about the type of man that you were going to marry because you knew how to pick one. You knew what your worth was, and that you weren't going to let a man come in and, like, try and take things from you or not be the man that you needed. And you found the man you needed, and he's a good father, she says.
Nice.
And she's very proud of everything that you guys have built together, and it's only going to continue to get better. Her advice to you is not to take life so seriously. Especially in relationships and with your husband, she's saying. Things change in relationships. So I don't know what you're going through. If maybe nothing right now, maybe this is future advice, but what she's telling me is that relationships always have their ups and downs. And some days you love each other and some days you don't like each other very much. But you always love each other. No matter how you look at it, you do. And it's not meant to be perfect. Nobody's perfect. There's no relationship where everything is the perfect all the time. You know, that's not logical. So when you have these moments of like, oh, I would like it to be this way, and it's not. Instead of getting yourself down on that, think about ways that you can implement those changes, things that you do want, because a lot of times our spouses don't even know that, like, there's something that we need or we want, and we have to tell them that. And so that's what she's saying, is that if there's something that you need that he's not giving you, she wants you to ask for it. That's good advice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Very good.
So hopefully that makes sense. It usually does. Makes no sense to me. I don't know what's going on, in her personal life, but I love that the spirits deliver the messages and give us the opportunity to fix things. Yeah, for sure. So, yeah. And she loves you so much, and be happy. And yeah, she's proud of you.
That's awesome.
Yay. So, yay, Gloria. Thank you for coming through and doing that. And thank you,
Gloria.
Jen.
Thanks, Jen.
Yep.
All right, then.
Okay.
Are you all done with that part?
I am all done.
Very nice.
Yay.
All right, then. Episode 137, Learning the Language of the Universe.
Yay. So I have been kind of learning this for a long time. Like, my mom's been gone almost 18 years. And I would say that I even started learning this a little bit before she passed, because I was already kind of into the tarot cards and crystals and learning those types of things. But once my mom passed, things just started happening. And I was seeing signs everywhere and weird things happening in nature and numbers and music and what all these things mean. And I know from my work that this is one of the biggest questions that people have after they lose loved ones, besides what we answered 2 weeks ago, which is, are they okay? Yeah. Is how do they talk to me? What are they trying to say with these signs, especially? You know, what are they saying? People think that when they see these signs, that if they see a lot of them, it's bad, that they're trying to get your attention, that there's something bad going on. So really in this episode, what we're going to do is talk about some signs that they send, but then also give you some examples of how the universe can help you with everyday life, as well as helping you make major life decisions. Yep. So the universe sends us signs every day that most often we don't even notice. We discount them. We discount them a lot as coincidence.
Yes.
Yep.
I almost I don't like certain words because I feel like they're just sort of, all words are made up for us to be able to communicate, but there's certain words that you go, why does that word even exist?
Yeah. Yes. And I know, because we're going to talk about that here in a second, is that coincidence is what messes with people the most.
And it's, again, one of those unexplainable things.
Right.
So we have to chalk it up to that.
Yeah.
Okay, go ahead. Sorry.
No, that's okay. So being able to communicate with the universe, it takes patience, and it takes time, and it takes the ability to let go of what you think and what you've been told in the past. But most of all, it takes faith. And that's where the coincidence comes into play. A lot of times with these types of things, retrospect can be one of your best friends, and it can help be one of the biggest teachers too. So I asked our listeners what questions they wanted to talk about, what they want to talk about in this episode. And you had mentioned even wanting to name this episode something that had to do with coincidences, because that's not what this is. These are not coincidences. So the questions that they asked: how do we know if it's the universe speaking or our own personal thoughts? And then that was from Mallory. And then Kathy asked, she said, my thoughts exactly, as well as how do we not pass things off as coincidence versus just knowing it is real? Faith.
Yeah, faith. And I'll tell you what, I always felt like the term, hindsight 2020 gave hindsight like a bad reputation. Yeah. Like hindsight's behind the game.
Right.
It's later. It's not the beginning, it's after.
Right.
But I realize how important hindsight is, because you learn.
Yeah.
If you stop to observe the outcome of a situation.
Yes.
You can learn from your own mistakes, your own behavior, someone else's, a situation, the surroundings, whatever.
Yeah.
So I always felt like hindsight kind of got a bad rap.
Yeah.
In that area, and realizing that it's exactly where it's supposed to be.
Yeah.
In the time frame, that because it's there for a reason for us to look at that and go, was that really coincidence?
It's a teacher.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You have a moment to get to reflect on a moment.
Yes.
And when you reflect on a moment, you can learn something from that.
Yes. It's very hard when you're in the middle of a situation and you see these signs and you say to yourself, well, these are signs. I know they are. There's no way that they're not signs, but I don't have the proof. And then later on, you have the proof. You don't always. Like, let's say that you get to like a stop sign and you shouldn't turn left, and something tells you to turn right, and you do, and nothing happens. This is just, basic thing here. You're never going to know what would have happened if you would have turned left. Right. That's the point. Right. Because left, there could have been an accident. There could have been anything. Yeah. So that's where listening to the universe can help with so many things in your life. Small, big, whatever, And
the ways that, I don't want to get ahead of...
No, you're fine.
The ways in which maybe we could start with that.
Yes, that's what we're going to start with for sure.
That these messages are signs. Besides, not we're big avid believers in synchronicities and numbers, but we're talking even more than.
Yes, we're going to get way more in depth
way
than that.
Beyond that.
What I would like to do with some of this is put all of these different things together and show you how a day's worth of science can tell you what to do, not just numbers and music. But anyways,
Yeah.
Let's talk about first though what the main signs that the universe uses to communicate is. And I asked our listeners what they see the most often, and the number one thing is numbers. And we have done episodes on synchronicity and on signs, so you could get more basic info on this there. But the universe and our loved ones, they do communicate with numbers that relate to us. That can be birthdays, death days, favorite numbers, anniversaries, whatever, anything that is a number that draws your attention. For me, I have found that numbers play a big part in which family member is talking to me. I have a lot of 11s and a lot of 13s, like a lot of deaths on the 11s and the 13s. It's so weird, but I have assigned 11 to my dad and 13 to my mom. It doesn't always mean that it's them talking to me. It could be other things, but I have assigned that to them. So I know, if I see those, consider it a dad message or consider it a mom message, because it might just be. People talk about seeing on the clock all the time the same number. We have proven it to people that we know that we see on the 11 o'clock minute every single hour for the most part. If we're awake and not like if we're sitting here, we might not, because we might not look at the clock. But for the most part, the tap comes on the shoulder every single hour at 11 minutes in. Every hour.
I even got it yesterday when I said, I got this thought that because Marina walked into the room, we were talking about something, and I said, 12:11. And she was like, what? And I'm like, oh, nothing. We see 11 minutes after every hour,
Yeah.
And she's like, oh, okay, whatever. So that popped in my head a little bit later, around 3 o'clock, and the thought came in, look at the time. And it was 3:10. And I turned to you and said, hey, and as I was telling you the story, it turned to 3:11.
Yeah.
So, and I wondered, what's the story with that? And you know what? I think it's just them saying, you get it.
Yeah.
You're on it. You see it. Before it was just singular, not singular, triples, like 111, 222, 333, that kind of thing.
Right.
And because that was sort of like, okay, where do we go from this?
Right.
Now it was like, okay, you see these, you recognize these. Right. Now let's see if you recognize these.
Yes.
And it's even gone beyond that, where I'm seeing different patterns besides 11 minutes after the hour. And then I told you we have this big giant Celebration Day Led Zeppelin poster my parents got us like framed in the entryway.
Yeah.
And I looked at the time on Big Ben, and it's 10:11.
Yeah. It's, well, one thing to know about this is that these aren't bad things, and they don't necessarily have to mean something specific. Like Danny said, it could just mean, you're doing a good job, you're recognizing these things. I'm throwing numbers all day long, and the longer that I do this and the deeper I get into it, the more extensive they make it for me.
Yeah.
Danny doesn't see a lot of the things that I do yet, but I will go out and it'll be the numbers on the side of a truck and the license plates and numbers on the buildings, and it'll catch my eye all at once. Those are synchronicities, but that's the way that they're communicating with me. Now, a lot of people might freak out. What are they trying to tell you? What is it? What are they trying to tell you? Something bad coming? No. They're just teaching me to communicate with them, to recognize that they're sending these signs so that when they do need to communicate with me, they can. They are also, like Danny said, making you, aware. They're there. They're happy of what you're doing. You're doing the right thing. You're on the right track. Days that I'm down, a lot of times I don't see the numbers so much. Yeah.
I kind of feel like, honestly, the number thing in the communication language part of it with the universe is kind of like the daily warm-up, the calisthenics.
Yeah.
That if they can get your attention this way with visual, then you're kind of warmed up. You're awake.
Yes.
Which means then they can start to throw at you other things that we'll talk about, other ways that you will now get messages or hear things or feel things that are outside of a number scheme.
Right. For sure.
There's a lot of different ways. And some of that includes hindsight, because you may not recognize it at the moment, but you put the pieces together later in hindsight. You're still communicating with the universe. You're still understanding the language. It's just there's that learning curve.
Yes. It takes time. And it also takes like opening your mind, because 13 is one of my numbers because that's my mom's death day. And at first I hated it, and now I embrace it so much. It's all over the place. You know, it's just a number for me that connects me to her. It's not a bad luck number. So, the numbers, they really are, like, I would say, one of the top 3 things that the universe uses. And like you said, like a warm-up. I wake up in the morning, usually I see either 5:55 or 6:11 right off the bat. That's like my hello. Sometimes I wake up in the middle of the night and it might be 3:11 or 4:11 or whatever. Like, oh, hello, good morning. Go back to bed. But that is a huge way that they try to communicate.
Yeah.
The next way is music. This was the second way with my mom that I found. Now, I'm also a huge music person, so if you're not so much into music, maybe it's not one of the ways that they communicate with you. But I know from most of the people that I've talked to, and that especially the spiritual people, that they are very into music and that this is something that happens a lot for them.
Yeah.
At first, when my mom died, I was hearing like three major songs: Hoobastank, The Reason, Evanescence, My Immortal, and Outcast, Hey Ya. And people were like, well, why Outcast, Hey Ya? Well, that was her favorite song when she died. So it reminded me of her in a good way. But Hoobastank, The Reason was a personal message to me from her that I did not get until way farther down the line in my spiritual journey. And I kept hearing it all the time. And I remember being in the car with one of my mom's best friends and her daughters and saying, I don't understand why I keep hearing this song so much. And her best friend's daughter said, listen to it. She's apologizing. She's apologizing for the things that she did. Yeah. But at that time, I wasn't ready to hear that, you know. But if there's a song that's playing for you repetitively, whether you've lost somebody recently or 10 years ago, or maybe you haven't lost somebody at all, listen to it. It may be one line in the song that sticks out to you. I had my music on today in the shower, and Calling All Angels from Train came on, and in one part they say, I won't give up if you don't give up. Yeah. And that's it really from that song that I take the most. It's like my mom, she says that to me. So you can take little pieces of the song. It doesn't have to be the whole thing. Yeah. And it doesn't have, like if it's a love song and it is a parent or somebody, you know, it's your own interpretation. It's like, obviously it doesn't have to fit every single word, but it might fit a lot of the words or the feeling, you know? Yeah. I wake up a lot of times singing songs. That's another way. And I hear that from other people too. Nisha, that's one way she gives me messages. She's like, I woke up, there was one day she said, I woke up singing Superman, 5 for Fighting, and it's for you, and it's become one of my songs now, and it's a trip. But that happens, like for her too. I hear Land Down Under because she's from Australia. So these are the ways that our mothers have us communicate with each other, because they do that a lot. Right. So when we hear those songs or we wake up singing those songs, we know to contact the other one for some reason. Yeah, it's interesting how it works. Yeah. But with the songs, just quickly to go over this, you can assign songs to people. So what I would do in this kind of situation, if you're into this, if you really want to learn how to communicate with the universe, is to get you a notebook, like a journal, and write down all of the people in your lives that you have music that relates to. And then put all of the songs underneath. Make yourself a list of who relates to what, because I can tell you that every person in my life has songs that that relate to them. Yeah. Everybody. And it's the universe's way of communicating. When I hear my brother's songs, I know I need to contact my brother. Right. You know? Well,
and here's something that's really neat when you think about this, is music communicating with us. Is I've heard more times than I haven't about how an artist, when writing a song, is being almost guided, compelled to put something down that they almost not really sure where it came from. Yeah. Because it came so spontaneously or naturally. Yeah. I believe that's because it's coming from a divine source. Right. It's coming from a place that can communicate. Yeah. And so it's communicating to this person, this individual, to put this down.
Right.
Make this song.
Yes, for
right?
sure.
You need to make this song. Eddie Van Halen is a great example. I've said this before. He says multiple times, where do ideas come from anyways? It's not me.
Yeah.
I'm just the guy that the channel,
He's
that,
the channel, yeah.
that it comes out of. And there are many, many, many people like that.
Yep.
Then let's take in consideration that how many people one song can affect
Oh, yeah.
in the world, in a world of 7 billion people. If that's a message that's coming through a person to put down and write so it can be heard by others, it's meant to be shared.
Right.
It's meant for others to hear because more than one person is going to put their own interpretation or meaning to that song.
Right.
And be affected by it.
Absolutely.
Tremendously.
And interpret it their own way.
Right.
Absolutely.
So,
Absolutely.
but like you said, if you're hearing a song multiple times, it's almost like you should just sit down and listen to it.
Yes.
Maybe read the words and ask, what is it you want to tell me?
Yeah.
You know? And you'll feel it, even if it's just one line from a song. We need to hear voices, right, in order to understand.
Yeah.
And music helps us, for most of us. You are an exception, like with others, that can hear spirits within you. But most of us need to hear voices
Right.
to communicate. And they gave us these and this ability to put our voice to a tone,
Yeah.
a note,
Yeah.
which then further communicates something even deeper than just words.
Yeah. Totally.
It's adding this divinity, this element of divinity to
Right.
words.
For
because
sure.
it's in notes, you know.
Yep.
That's incredible.
Absolutely.
And then outside of just that, music itself is that getting messages from other humans.
Yeah.
And by that I mean that the universe is speaking through other people to tell us something important.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying?
Yes, they're using...
And a good example of that is when sometimes I have this that happens where I'm talking to somebody and they're saying something and it could just be one phrase in their sentence.
Yes.
That sort of jumps out. In my mind, it almost sounds like somebody put echo on it.
Yes.
Or reverb or almost boosted the volume just for that phrase. For me to connect to get my attention.
Yeah.
This is all meant to get our
Absolutely.
attention.
Yep. And they'll do that with the music, too.
Exactly.
Yeah. You'll just be sitting there listening to a song you've heard 1,000 times, and all of a sudden one line will stick out to you. And it may be exactly what you need at that point in your day. And it may never mean the same thing to you again. But it's, they need those things as a way because most people cannot just hear them. So they need these tools. These are all tools that they
Right.
use. Music is divine. It is something that's
Oh, yeah.
given to us by the universe. And so it is a key way of communication. And there's so many different... I mean, I could go on and on. One of my favorite episodes that we've done, it was the last music one. I think it was called Universe Speaking Through Music or something like that. But I would go back and listen to that one if you guys haven't yet, because that's a really good one too. And it gets more into detail with that. So let's see, a couple of the other ways, or a few of the other ways that the universe talks to us is nature.
Yes.
Butterflies, dragonflies, hawks, hummingbirds, etc., etc., etc. We have these little black and white birds that we call mom birds because they just seem to come around whenever I need her. This has been going on a long time. And lately, we have a camera right in the front of the house, and then there's like a little, we have a courtyard, and there's a table and chairs there. And every morning, for the most part, this bird flies right to where the camera is, right on that chair, and sits there. And it's a mom bird, and it just sits there and tweet, tweet every morning at the same time.
That's
And
so cool.
it's like my mom saying good morning.
Yeah.
But that's what they do. And most people would just say that's a coincidence. There's no such thing as a coincidence. So if you say to yourself, oh, that's just, nothing. No, it is. It is. I
that
promise
would mean
you.
that we're all here by coincidence?
Yes.
I don't get that.
No. Animals are a huge way. We see so many different animals, so many different crazy things that they did. One day, there was a dragonfly that was just flying back and forth across our grass for like 15, 20 minutes.
Yeah, I filmed it.
It was so cool. But most people never seen anything like that, you know? That's the things that they do to get our attention. It's impressive.
Yeah.
I love to watch it. So nature is a big one.
And once they get your attention, it's like that particular moment was as if they were trying to show off.
Yeah,
like
they do, yeah.
We've got your attention, now we're going to blow your mind.
Yeah. One thing that happened to us a while back, I think this was before the spiritual awakening, I was having a bad day and I was in the backyard at our old house and I looked up and I counted the ravens on the line and there were 13 ravens on the line. And I immediately knew that was my mom and that she was telling me to just calm down. But there's a synchronicity for you. The ravens, because that's nature. And my mom hated ravens. And so see, she uses these things. There's no reason to hate these things. Love them. But that's a synchronicity and a way that she was communicating. And how do I know what she's saying? Because if I'm sitting there in my head and I'm having a rough day and she's sending me signs, she's telling me to calm down. That's what they want us to do. They want us to calm down. They're not trying to pump us up and make us more anxious. They're trying to tell us we're here. Yeah. The universe is here to support you. Relax. So that's something else to remember when you see these things. It's always good. It's good. You had mentioned a minute ago when other people say things, and that is definitely something. Hearing things and words. Yeah, anything that maybe you're talking to somebody and they just say something that you've been needing to hear all day, and they won't even know that that's what you needed to hear. That is the universe talking through people. This happens to me so much now. Yeah. It's crazy. And people don't even know it. And sometimes I start giggling and I'm like, I'm sorry, but you just answered a question that I really needed answered. Yeah. Just without even knowing it. Yeah. Sometimes also you might hear a voice in your head and you might think it's your own voice. We were talking about this earlier about how it usually feels different. Like if they're trying to get something through to you and it's a big key point, it'll feel different, almost like an epiphany, or it'll sound different. Like I've mentioned when my grandma passed and I was like kind of looking at her body like, whoa, I kept hearing it's just a shell. Yeah. But I knew that wasn't my voice because it was so, like you've said, echoey. And it's like stands out and it's a trip. But they will tell you things like that. So if you hear that like echoey kind of voice, that's them. I
remember, this is a bunch of things are now, I remember earlier today, I was like, I'm trying to remember all these instances and things that, besides just numbers, I wish I would write these down. And now they're starting to come to me. Yeah. Which was, I heard that earlier, like, don't worry, things will come to you.
Yeah, good.
And they are. But like, for example, for me, which is a great one with people speaking through, is the last rehearsal that Gypsy Brown had with our first drummer. It was later on, and I don't know if somebody wasn't feeling good or what the deal was, but somebody said, are we done? Or one more, or are we done? And there was some talk, and the drummer said, I'm done. And that jumped out at me echoed. In that echoey kind of way. Yeah. And that was the last rehearsal with him. Wow. And never play with him again. Yeah. So
that's absolutely how it works.
It was weird. And I knew that I felt that change coming. Yeah. I was expressing it to you and maybe to a couple of guys in the band, but I didn't know how that was going to happen. Yeah. And it just happened.
They absolutely will. Yeah. They tell you those things. And that's a way to kind of help you, like you said, to realize it's okay. Yeah. You know, and you just have that confidence at that point in knowing that it's okay. This is the way it's supposed to be. Yeah. For sure.
I think another example, like for talking through people, when I was very young, I can't even tell you really how old I was. It's embarrassing to say, but I'm going to say like 8 or 9, that my mom smoked cigarettes and I started stealing cigarettes. I was interested in trying. Yeah. And I stole one and I went down past, like we have an alleyway that ran down the middle of the backside of our apartment buildings, and on the other side of that alley was other apartment buildings. Well, I made sure to go all the way down the alley, across the street, down to this other little parking lot area to smoke this cigarette probably coughed my lungs up.
Probably, yeah.
And I looked around everywhere, up and down, that nobody was around to see me light the cigarette. Because if somebody told my mom,
yeah.
I came from a generation where, parents weren't afraid to,
Yeah. Take the belt out.
Exactly. So I looked around and I looked around and I looked around. It was quiet, clear, nobody. And as soon as I lit that thing and I heard an older man's voice say something to the effect of, "Oh, you smoking cigarettes, huh?" And I looked up and he was standing on a staircase right above me, which I had looked at and watched. And this man did not look like he was in any age or shape to be running to a place to appear really fast in front of me.
Right.
Was it an angel?
Probably.
It may very well have been, because his message was very clear.
Yeah.
When I said, I brushed him off like a punk.
Not you.
And he said something to the effect of, he quit 40 years ago. And what that man was trying to do for my life.
Yeah.
And a struggle that has been an addiction for so long.
Yeah.
That I wish I would have never, ever picked up a cigarette.
Yeah, he was trying to tell you.
Or
But
touched
you're
nicotine.
8, or, you don't know.
You don't know. But what was amazing in hindsight,
Yeah.
I can't explain where the man came from.
Yeah.
Because I was so watching and making sure I was alone.
Yeah.
And the minute I stuck my head down, I mean, I could see that where my vantage point was is nobody was coming from any particular direction.
Right.
I had a good view.
Right.
And for him to just appear was like, whoa.
Right. Yeah.
And
It's
he was
wild.
trying to tell me something.
Yeah.
You're going down a path you're going to regret.
Yeah. But as a kid, you don't listen.
No, you don't.
never do. Yeah. It's just the way it goes.
So that's just another wonderful
Yeah.
example of the universe speaking to me.
Yeah.
And I brushed it off.
And it's a good point of, free will. That you'll do what you want, that the universe can speak to you. And you can just look at it as a coincidence, But, they will give you messages like that for sure.
Yeah.
A few other things. One of the coolest things that I found is energy manipulation. They do this with me a lot when I'm not supposed to like buy something. I'm going to tell you a story towards the end of how you can use this for like major planning of things. But there's been things that I've been trying to plan that I'll go to pay for them on the internet and something will happen, like the button just won't push. Or the card will come declined. And I'm like, okay, sure. But I just know that that's because I'm not supposed to buy that at that time, that there's a reason. But if you're coming across things like that where you're trying to purchase something or whatever it is, and you keep pushing those buttons and it's not working, stop.
Yeah.
Because it could be something as simple as there's a coupon in your Gmail or whatever to use to save money on that, or that you're going to find one you like more somewhere else, or whatever, but they're trying to help you. And it's not always bad. It's most of the time it's not bad. They're really just trying to help you out.
Yeah.
But that one is really cool. I love that. Social media posts. I see a lot of things that like messages, especially like if I have something particular on my mind that I need help with or whatever, and I'm maybe not listening, or I think my intuition isn't enough, then I'll see it right there on social media on a post that is just random. That happens all the time. Not a coincidence. Promise you. Things on TV, hearing people's names, whatever it is that's going on in your life, they'll answer questions for you through TV, commercials, whatever.
Yeah, social media is one too, where
it's
somebody might type something and say something, and then again, it's resounding.
Yes.
I remember the house we moved here from. We had a large kind of side room, and that's where the recording studio was, and where we would do a podcast, and the band rehearsed and everything. And when I first posted it on Facebook, I was telling Samantha prior to this that I was having a good feeling like about this, putting this together, like buying this equipment and learning this. And I said, I have this like field of dreams kind of thing I'm hearing of like, if you build it, they will come.
Yeah.
And so I started sharing on Facebook that it was growing and coming along.
Yeah.
And one of the guys' relatives or somebody commented that exact statement.
Yeah.
If you build it, they will come. And I didn't really even realize what that meant.
Yeah.
And meaning they, because if I had to handpick the people that I want to play with,
Yeah.
I have my choices right here.
Yeah, for sure.
So it was like, just keep going because it's not done yet.
Right.
But they'll be here. You
Yeah.
just got to keep building it.
Yeah. Something else that can happen to you is words changing as you're typing them.
Yes.
That happens to me a lot, especially with names. Something else is feelings. Sometimes if there's a presence, you might get this overwhelming sense to cry, especially if they're delivering a heavy message or really trying to get their point through to you. You might just feel this urge to cry or a strong pull. Even feeling like there's somebody in the room, like, whoa, I feel like there's somebody watching me, you know? Sometimes even you, like, if they're trying to tell you, you know, not to do something, you might feel anxious or have that thing inside of you that says, don't do that. And you should always listen to that because that's not a coincidence, you know, just listen to it, whatever it is. It's not a big deal. You know, they really want us to do that. So let's see. Let's talk about some things of how to put all these things together because these are different ways that the universe communicates with us. However, you really can plan your life based on the signs that they give you. I'm not joking when I say that, okay? Yeah. So I'm going to give you a story example of something that's been going on and they've really, really helped us through this. So we're planning a family trip to Hawaii, and our original plan was to go to Oahu and Maui. And I have been having visions of this trip since the very beginning of the spiritual awakening. I've seen the house. I've seen myself sitting on the porch of the house. I saw the waterfall that we were going to. And I started doing the research. We took care of Maui. That was cool because your parents are going with us. His parents are going. So that they kind of dealt with that. So it was just Oahu that I had to deal with. And first we found a house, and then the school changed the dates for spring break. So we had to cancel. And then when I went to find a new house, well, this house that we had already gotten, they couldn't do it for those dates. So we had to cancel. I had been trying to buy airline tickets too, and the little button was not pushing for me. So I stopped.
Yeah.
I looked for weeks and weeks and weeks on Oahu at places, and none of them were what I was seeing in the vision. I knew the other place wasn't either, but I just wanted to get us a place, you know.
Yeah.
I couldn't find the waterfall or whatever. So then, like, I want to say it was a month or two ago, I started seeing things and people started saying things. I have a relative who works for Pleasant Hawaiian Holidays, and she was like, well, I can't really help with a house, but my son handles that. And she's like, but why do you want to go to Oahu? Like, that was exactly what she said. Why do you want to go to Oahu? It's such a tourist trap. And then I went and got, I get these foot zones. They're like, it's like acupressure on your feet, and it like opens like your chakras and everything. And I was talking to her, and she said the same thing. Why do you want to go to Oahu? It's such a tourist trap. Same exact thing, right? So she said, I kept hearing things about the Big Island, but Jessica, the foot zone girl, said, Big Island. You should go to the Big Island. It's nice. Yeah. And I kept seeing things everywhere. Come to the Big Island. Everywhere I was looking. And so I came to you and I said, what do you think? You know, do you think maybe we should try the Big Island? And I found the house and the waterfall on the Big Island. They were trying to show me these things all along and putting roadblocks in my way. They tried to block me from scheduling the flights originally because, you know, the school changed the dates. Mm-hmm. And then, you know, again, going to Oahu because we weren't going to go to Oahu. And once I figured it out, everything went smoothly from there. I was able to book the flights and the place, and there were no problems at all. And so far, it's been smooth sailing. And I originally was like feeling this, and I was like, is this a COVID feeling? Like, am I feeling like we're just not supposed to go because we're not supposed to go? But it wasn't, we weren't supposed to go. It was the island. Yeah. And so it's that feeling, too, when you get that feeling, that it just, you know, all of it. You need to listen to it all. They're trying to give us signs of different ways to handle these types of situations. Yeah. When there's another one, because they'll just put roadblocks. Roadblocks is probably the best way that I could say. If you're seeing things like what I say about pushing the buttons, you know, on the flights and stuff, if you're seeing those kinds of roadblocks, they're telling you to stop. And there's a reason. Yeah. Okay. When we first moved into this house, I was adamant on putting in a dog door. And I had one door. There was only one door it could go in. And I'm telling you, it was like the size of the door was wrong. And then where we would have to place it was wrong. Everything about it was wrong. It was going to cost so much money. Oh, I was in the shower today and a story came to me and I was like, I couldn't remember it. And it was this one. Because my mother-in-law, Danny's stepmom, she said, I have a friend that could do this for you. And I'm thinking, oh, cool, a friend. He'll be able to, help us. It won't cost us a ridiculous amount of money. Quoted us $1,000. And I was like, that's it. I'm not putting in a dog door. And you know what? I am so thankful that I didn't put in a dog door. At the time, I thought I wanted one.
Yeah.
But our big Dane, he is obsessed with being out there at night and chasing whatever comes into the yard. And we live where there's a lot of wildlife.
Yeah.
And the raccoons would have come in through it and God knows what else. So I am so thankful that I listened to the universe. As soon as I heard that $1,000, I was like, I'm done.
Yeah.
I'm done. That's it. I've worked on this enough. It's not worth it.
Yeah.
So never push those things. Let them show you the signs and guide you in these ways without pushing things,
Yeah, that's a great example.
Yeah. That one, I'm very, very thankful for that.
I don't know if I've told you. I think I told you this part, but for me, it's a lot of things are music, but I always wanted to own a Gibson Les Paul when I first started playing music. And they're a pricey guitar. And I went to when I lived growing up in Thousand Oaks, I went to a music store out here called Instrumental Music, and I put a down payment. It was very small, but I put a down payment to hold a particular Les Paul that I was planning on buying. And I came back to give him some more money on it, and he said it got stolen out of the store.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, man, what a bummer. So I end up going around in Hollywood and finally buying one. And I lost my job quickly after that. Still lived at home. My dad's like, well, you got to sell it. Got to make your bills, blah, blah, blah. Well, I ended up having to sell it for half of what I paid for it 3 months later. And that was hard. I couldn't somehow get one of these, my hands on one and keep it.
Yeah.
And then lo and behold, a little bit later, quickly after that, the first band that I was in, Contradiction, we were just recording our first album and we're in the studio and there's some buzz coming off the amp and we think it's my guitar. But turned out it wasn't the guitar, it was the amp. Mm-hmm. But the singer of the band goes and says, hey, I'm going to buy you this Les Paul and you can just make payments to me. And ended up at some point where I may have paid him half, 3/4 of it back. And then one year for my birthday, he said, we're even. You don't have to pay me anymore. The irony of that and looking back at that in hindsight.
Yeah.
That I had my goal set on one of these.
Right.
And I was forcing it in a way that wasn't going to work.
Yeah.
Because I was given one the same way.
Yeah.
Like kind of in the sense of where I sold the first one.
Right.
For half of what I paid for it.
Right.
I essentially got another one, same exact one.
Yeah.
And only ended up having to pay him off about the same.
And the universe will absolutely do those things for you. This is why, now in my life, I don't stress about certain things. Here's a great example. We have a friend, you have a friend who is, I guess, friend by marriage now, who is the guitarist for Alanis Morissette.
Yeah.
And he gets tickets for friends and stuff. And so we asked him for some to the last concert. And one of my bucket list items was to sit in a garden box at the Hollywood Bowl. And that's where she was playing. And that's where we were able to get tickets. Mm-hmm. But these tickets were not cheap.
No.
And so we put in for them, but we didn't hear until the day before the concert. But I told my guys and my mom, I said, you know what? If this experience is going to be good enough for us to spend that kind of money on tickets, let's do it. But I'm going to let the universe decide for us.
Right.
And we got those tickets. And you know what else we got? Free tickets. They didn't charge us for those tickets.
No.
So it was a gift from the universe, but it was to me, it was a gift for letting the universe decide and not stressing on it. Because we thought, we kept thinking about it. Well, when are we going to hear? And I was like, it doesn't matter. We've, set out the time for the night. If we're going to go, we're going to go. And learning to speak the language of the universe has helped me calm down so much. Looking at all of these signs, letting them show me the right way to go. with all of these stories, I can tell you that there's numbers, there's music, there's everything that tells me this is the way it's going to go.
Yeah.
But I let them control it. I don't try and control things anymore. Our rescue dog, I was having visions of her for years. And people ask me this all the time. And so this is a great way to know that a dog is for you or an animal is for you. I kept trying to find her. Like, I was told I can't find her until we move into this house. So then after we moved in, I was trying to find her online, and I was sending messages for dogs that I thought was her, but none of them really felt right. And people weren't getting back to me. That's another thing. People don't get back to you. Don't worry about it. They're not supposed to. Move on with it.
Yeah.
But about, well, I don't know. It was like 3 weeks before we got Betty, I started seeing a black Dane. There's a black Dane a couple streets over, and I never see the dog, and I haven't seen him since we got Betty, but I started seeing him all the time, and that was a sign to me. Okay, I'm looking for my black dog, because I knew she was going to be black with white. So there were different signs that I was looking for. I started seeing things on Facebook, pictures and sayings of, black dogs and stuff like that. So these were all signs. And then when I found her, I had said to you, I don't think I want another dog, but I couldn't stop thinking about her. I couldn't get her out of my head. And it was so easy. I texted that rescue. They texted me right back. They came to us. I was worried about, because they were far away.
Yeah.
I was like, that's going to be an issue. They came to us. Everything worked in our favor. So I knew that she was meant for us. If there's roadblocks, if, people aren't getting back to you, or it's just too much of a pain, it's not meant for you.
Yeah.
That is how the universe talks to us.
Yep.
I could go on and on and on for hours about this, but we're out of time. But I know that there's so much to this, and we really didn't even hit on a small portion of it. But please, the biggest thing that I can tell you is that there is no such thing as coincidence. And if you try and look at this life a little bit more like a simulation and like a video game, and like you're the only one that's really playing it and everything else that's around you is just simulated, then you'll start to notice that there's no way that these things are coincidences, because they're meant for you.
Yeah.
They're all meant for you. So I'm going to challenge you guys. I'm going to challenge you this week to, every time that you go, that's a coincidence. No, change the thought and think, that's the universe, and thank the universe, and see what it changes for you, and then let us know.
Yeah, maybe we'll share a couple of them. Yeah,
for sure.
That's a good idea.
I think so. Yeah.
I feel like a lot of times it's, I was able to, or am able to access it when you feel your, like, moments of despair, kind of,
Yeah.
Like you're at your wit's end. And it's so clear. It's the challenge of learning how to do that and get those messages when you don't have that feeling.
Right, exactly.
When you're not feeling super low, you're just letting it guide you. You've been really good at that. But yeah, for me, it's amazing. I remember like this Bob Marley thing right here that's hanging here. I had a moment one time where I was just like, kind of just in despair, like not sure what's going on, and I sat in front of the computer and I was crying, and I asked, what's the message? What am I supposed to learn here?
Yeah.
And I kind of just look up, and that's what I see is the question is, what's my message on this picture? It says, what's my message? Truth, peace, and love.
Yep.
And I was like, wow. And the part about it is it's so simple.
Yeah.
It wasn't anything extravagant.
Yes.
That I had to wrap my head around. It was a very simple message.
Yeah. I have things kind of hidden all over the house. Like in the laundry room, there's a sign that says good things are coming. And then there's another one what is the one, the Bob Marley saying that's...
Everything's going to be all right.
Yeah. These things will catch my eye when I need them to catch my eye. And that's another way is if you see those things, they absolutely will catch your eye at the right time. So listen to those, not coincidences, for sure. Yeah.
Not at all.
Well, sir, cool. I think that concludes our episode.
I know you could go on.
I really could. But we're out of time. Yeah. But do know one thing, that if you are seeing signs, it's probably for a couple of reasons. First of all, you may be really down and you just aren't seeing them because you're so down. But also you may be trying too hard. Just let it come naturally. Don't force it.
Right.
You know, if you look over and you see something, that's how it's supposed to be. It's not supposed to be, I'm looking for my numbers, or I'm looking for the song on the radio. It should just smack you upside the head.
Yeah.
And it will, but you have to release, let it go, let it come to you.
I mean, part of it, you kind of got to step out of the normal, everyday routine. Try to give yourself, 5 minutes to go. I don't want to think about the grocery list or picking up the kids from school or this or that. I just want to think, outside of all that and give myself 5 minutes if I can, and maybe ask in that moment for these things to be shown to you when you can see them.
Yes.
So, but sometimes you do have to give yourself, it's like a meditation. You have to say, I got to take myself away from all this to just be quiet for a second.
For sure. For sure.
And then sometimes you'll see them when you're not.
In our very first episode, it was very hard to hear. So if you've listened to episode number 1, first of all, we apologize. Yeah.
Not the first 4.
Yeah. But especially the first one. The very first sign that I remember receiving from my mom was an actual sign. It was a billboard, and it said, "For a good sign, call Linda." And it was smack dab right there in my face on the side of the freeway on the way to her funeral. And I was like, what? That's a coincidence. And I sat with that, and I was like, there's no way that was a coincidence.
Yeah.
No way, friends.
Yeah.
No. Those things are how they do it. And she was telling me, I'm here. I'm here. Don't worry. I'm here. So listen to them. Put your meanings to them. Put your meanings to the songs, the numbers, the animals. Build your own. There's no one universal language. Build your language with the universe. And you can do it.
Yep. I agree.
You can talk to them.
Very cool.
Yay.
Well, thanks so much.
Yes.
Good job.
Yes, thank you.
Before we say goodbye to everybody, you want to share your information really quick?
Yes, you can find me on my website at SamanthaJonesPsychicMedium.com. You can schedule appointments there, email me, all the good stuff, and even find us. And we're on social media as well as at Spiritual Joneses. You can find us.
Nice.
So, and then you, sir.
Thank you. For my art, djonesartcollection.com. For the web, at djonesartcollection for Facebook and Instagram. And I still have nothing to share about the music, but I will soon.
Teasing you guys.
Yeah.
There's news coming
There
soon.
is. Yes.
Yes.
Cool. Well, we hope everybody got something out of this week.
That we do.
And we hope that everybody has a wonderful week.
Yes.
Until next week, peace and love.